entire country is a tourist attraction.
Which are the most favorable for your network, for your engagement?
Well, one of the top ones is tourism.
Your experience when you actually go to places and look at the situation in person.
I've been to 25 countries and I've experienced some challenges in other countries.
Formerly untouchable sectors of the economy like telecommunication and the banking sectors are now opening up for business.
We've been waiting. We have been waiting for a long time.
What is your message to officials in the State Department?
I don't think that sanctions and political issues should get in the way of trade.
There are dozens of things investors do not like to see in places they want to invest. The worst of the worst, uncertainty driven by conflict and war. In the past 2 years, conflict and war has severely impacted Ethiopia's engagement with the global business community. However, things are changing for the better, especially after the permanent cessation of hostilities agreement was signed in South Africa, Pretoria. Nowadays, the global business community is looking at Ethiopia as a business opportunity. Today on this program, we'll look at the expectation of the global business community in the post-conflict Ethiopia. You're watching Messenger from Amhara Media Corporation. I'm Johannes Lijalan. Stay tuned. My guest today is the CEO of Global Trading Network, Mansa Musa, and thank you for taking your time to talk to us.
It's my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here and appreciate you having me.
Great. Let's begin with a brief introduction of your organization, the Global Trading Network.
Okay, the Global Trading Network is an international trade company. We do import-export. We've been doing business based out of Seattle, Washington and Atlanta, Georgia for 23 years. We do international expos, wholesale trade shows. We usually do 2 trade shows per year, one in Atlanta, Georgia and one in California. We've just expanded this year and we're having a hybrid expo in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia every May. We have offices in Sierra Leone, Ghana, Addis Ababa and Atlanta, Georgia. And we're really focused. We come from a high-tech city, Seattle, Washington, so we're really focused on e-commerce and doing everything from a digital platform.
What type of trading networks you specialized in? You told me the tech industry, and what else are you specially trying to do?
Well, our main focus is trade without borders in Africa. So we do the Africa Free Trade programs. So that's our #1 focus. Our next focus, and it's part of the U.S. agenda, is increasing trade between Africa and the United States, and we base out of Ethiopia to do that. And then we have another section where we're increasing trade between Africa and Indonesia, and then we do infrastructure projects and increase tourism from United States to African countries, particularly Ethiopia, Ghana, and Sierra Leone.
How do you ensure quality service and product in the countries that you are working at your best?
What we try to do is bring in the highest training and the highest technology. We do advanced management systems with our staff here in our different African countries, so that we can bring a high quality professional experience to all of our visitors that come to see us here in Ethiopia or Ghana or Sierra Leone.
Can you tell us the places that you have just success stories in providing as the best network for trading, for investment, particularly countries in Africa?
Our 2 best success stories have been in Ghana and Ethiopia. We started coming to, my family heritage is, I'm half Abasha and half Mandinka out of Ghana. So my parents told me at a young age, you need to go back and explore your roots. So we started 23 years ago going to both Ghana and Ethiopia. And it's just been a phenomenal experience. Ghana is really one of the easier countries as far as laws and so on and so forth to be able to do business. Ethiopia has been phenomenal because it's the most ancient place on the planet Earth. Every single person that we've brought to Ethiopia have said that it's the most civilized culture on the planet Earth, and I agree. I've been to 25 different countries, and here the people, they really love God. They have a really nice love for God. They're very friendly. Here you get to experience so many ancient places. The original bones, Dinkinesh or Lucy, even her grandfather, she used to be the oldest, but they found her grandfather's bones. You have this amazing Gondor that's right
Gondor
next to
Castle.
here, yes, in the Amhara region where we're at, with the ancient castles, which is phenomenal, and it's just unbelievable. Also, Axum. Axum is amazing because in Ethiopia you get a piece of everything, so you can see the beginnings of Egypt when you go to Axum and see the obelisk. And then, of course, I was raised in a Christian family, and so coming to Ethiopia to see the beginnings of Christianity has been phenomenal. I visited Lalibela.
Trust is the foundation of any business activity.
Exactly.
So I think you are telling me that the people here in Ethiopia can be trusted.
That is something that I found, again, that is really a high positive aspect of doing business in Ethiopia. You know, you can go to other bigger countries and they'll be faster, but, you know, it's like, not to knock cities, but if you go to New York, it's faster pace, and maybe you might not have as much trust. But if you go to Seattle, Washington, it's a little slower pace, you feel more comfortable. That's what Ethiopia is similar to that. The people are very trustworthy. And as far as business goes, speaking of investing in tourism, this is the most amazing thing about Ethiopia. The entire country is a tourist attraction because you have every aspect. If you go down south, you have the tropical zone where you can see, you know, some of the most amazing animals and so on and so forth. And like I was saying, you can go and see ancient castles, obelisk, Lalibela, the beginnings of the Muslim beginnings. Everything is here. So it's really, the only challenge, like you have said, is now I've been here 23 years.
Yeah.
Out of the 23 years, I only had 5 years of the challenges with COVID and then some political issues. But besides that, it's been really ease of doing business.
In your recent visit, working visit, you have been in various places, like you have been in South Wallo, and yesterday I think you talked with regional leaders here in Bahir Dar, and today and tomorrow you may have other visits. Right. What are you trying to accomplish from these visits?
Now these visits, we're launching our Hybrid Expo and trade mission to the United States. So right now we're looking for viable plans and projects in each region, infrastructure projects, tourism projects, high-tech projects. One of the major focuses that we are looking for in Ethiopia right now is manufacturing and processing projects. So we've been going to each region to see what type of proposals that we can gather, and then we'll go to the US for a 6-month trade mission and do some B2B matchmaking, matching investors and joint ventures and partnerships up with the local regional projects.
Yeah, Amhara regional state has a massive potential in areas such as agriculture, tourism, renewable energy, manufacturing, real estate development, mining as well. From all these sectors, which are the most favorable for your network, for your engagement?
Well, one of the top ones is tourism. I mean, this place, again, is, everything about it is phenomenal for tourism. I think the second aspect would be manufacturing and processing agriculture. One of the things that we need in the U.S., especially we experienced during COVID, is lack of natural resources as far as food goes. We even had a challenge with, we ran out of baby food. And so it's really important for us to establish relationships with an agricultural hub so we can make sure that we're getting, especially what's amazing in Ethiopia is everything is organic. And so this is one of our main focuses. So tourism, agriculture, manufacturing and processing of many different things, and then the other growth aspect that we love is, as far as infrastructure projects, is real estate development. So those three are the top priorities that we're looking at.
Okay. In the past 2 years, Ethiopia has been going through conflict, instability, and war. And how much has this affected the business relation in the country, as far as your experience is concerned?
It's always challenging. Anytime you have any type of destabilization in a region, then it makes it very difficult for people to come and visit as far as tourism. And so that's been a big challenge for us. It's also really challenging to get investors to put money into a region if there's any type of destabilization. Same thing with U.S. Anytime we have our issues, it causes a challenge. Now, I've been here, and most of the time during these challenges, the amazing thing about Ethiopia is I never see any of the issues. And I know there has been some huge challenges going on.
Of course.
But, you know, I've gone in other countries where there's challenges and you actually see it. And you end up in, you know, challenging situations. But one thing about Ethiopia, even during its challenging times, it's always in certain regions, and it doesn't go around the entire country. So for me, it's been enjoyable being here, but it has caused a lot of challenges as far as getting tourists to come or investors to invest.
How do you compare the media narrative of events in those challenging times and even now, and with your experience when you actually go to places and look at the situation in person?
I want to give you an example of something that happens to me in the U.S. Every year in the U.S. we have a dry season. I'm from Seattle, Washington, which is the Northwest, and during this dry season, just south of us is California, and they have all these forest fires, okay? When they have these forest fires, some of my family from Africa or from Europe will call me and say, "Mansa, are you okay? You know, we see the forest fires, but they're so far away from where I'm at that they don't affect us at all." So that's the example I give of what's happening in Ethiopia. The media in the West is similar. They'll focus and capture on these situations, and it seems like it's in the entire country. But it's usually in some isolated, remote area. It's never reached Addis Ababa where I'm living, and the country is so huge. So maybe 90% of the country is just completely peaceful and wonderful, and then 10% pockets, there will be some issues. But again, I've been here through every situation, and I've never experienced any issues or challenges. I've been to 25 countries, and I've experienced some challenges in other countries. But in Ethiopia, it's always been Bameriam, very peaceful.
It is just like 5 or 6 months since the signing of the permanent cessation of hostilities agreement in South Africa, Pretoria. And how does that agreement impact the trade and investment activities you are engaged in? What kind of developments are you observing?
Well, it's huge. One thing you can notice when we have these issues or anything that destabilizes the economy, then we notice that everything slows down. Okay, so since this Pretoria Act, now you can see things are starting to move a lot faster. Of course, we just had this big summit with President Biden. He invited all the African presidents, including our Prime Minister here. So things are really starting to pick up now. A lot of my clients are calling me now to start to come back on tourism. A lot of people are now showing interest in going to our expos from Ethiopia and other African countries, but from Ethiopia to the U.S. Because the environment now is stabilized. So we've noticed a big difference. And one thing about Ethiopia, as soon as things quiet down, things really start pushing fast. And so now we're starting to see that the embassy is loosening up for travel, which is a key point for our business and the tourism business too. So things are looking really good right now.
Ethiopia is now opening up its economy to the international market. Formerly untouchable sectors of the economy like telecommunication and the banking sectors are now opening up for business. And what is your take on this bold policy shift?
We've been waiting. We have been waiting for a long time. So one of the challenges, this is the biggest challenge. Most of the other issues, including some of the political issues and COVID, those issues in Ethiopia have always seemed manageable. But the challenge of working through some of the bureaucracy has been the biggest challenge. So this is the biggest shift that we've been waiting for internationally. The African and diaspora around the globe, we've been waiting for this to happen, and it's happening now. It feels good. The entire international market is excited about it. And we just want a constant progress, step by step, to ease up and cut through the red tape, so all of us can do more business and have a win-win situation between nations. So we see it happening. I wish it could happen even faster, but it's happening and we feel it.
Yeah, when it comes to regulations in trade, investors, it is obvious, just you like regulations that are easy and dependable for business. What regulations should be amended so as to fit the free market industry or the free market scenario that we are trying to enter into?
Well, some of the things are streamlining the paperwork.
Of course.
Okay, one of the things that I love about the U.S., maybe you need one document or one business license to be able to function. And so streamlining the paperwork process to do a deal is one issue. Moving foreign currency, getting foreign currency in and foreign currency out of the government from profits is something that we would love to see. Another issue is knowing exactly what government agency. You know, it would be nice to have just one centralized government agency for foreign investors and business people to come to, and that agency have a step-by-step process for investors and business people to be able to work through. That would really assist in streamlining the process.
Ethiopia's economy have been going through the thin and thick in the past 2 years. We know that the COVID pandemic has severely impacted the economy, the world economy. On top of that, here we have a conflict, and then we had the Russian-Ukraine crisis. These multiple shocks have severely impacted the Ethiopian economy as well. And now Ethiopia's economy is struggling with inflation. We know that hard foreign currency is not abundant. How are you going to alleviate these challenges and do business in this country? Because I believe you're not immune from the economy of the country you are planning to do business with.
Exactly. And again, we look for win-win situations and B2B matchmaking. So some of the things we've been focusing on, and I want to say, Ethiopia is not alone. The COVID crisis hit everyone, okay, equally. So we're all bouncing back from that together. And so this is one of the key points is, as we walk through this, these economic situations, we're all going to be doing this together, and that's what the U.S. wants to do, and that's one of our major focuses right now, especially with Ethiopia. So we want to walk together and all increase our economies after this situation as a team. For foreign currency, we want to do some banking partnerships and some financial institution partnerships where we can work together to see how we can alleviate this foreign currency issue. We have a lobby group called the American and African International Trade Commission. We put together this lobby group specifically for Ethiopia and in general for all African countries to lobby, because one of the challenges we have is the African Growth and Opportunity Act and some other trade initiatives where the United States or the West needs to get the real story of what's happening in Ethiopia so we don't have sanctions. I don't think that sanctions and political issues should get in the way of trade between countries. I think we can keep the trade flowing while we work through some other issues that we may have, even if the issues aren't there. Also, we're working for the Africa with No Borders. With Africa with No Borders, we want to be able to do free trade throughout Africa and free trade between Africa and the United States with ease. So we're working on a program step by step to loosen that up through our lobby and advocacy group. The other issue that we're working on is we're lobbying for travel without borders. We don't think that it is prudent or advantageous for it to be difficult for business people to get a visa. In Ethiopia, like most African countries, we have all of the natural resources that the world needs. We have lithium, which is the gold of the future. We have majority of the gold. We have 60% of the agricultural land. So we think that if we open up the borders for free trade and open up the borders for free travel, ease of travel for business people to do business, all of this will help. And this is the focus, and the vehicle we're going to be using is the American and African International Trade Commission, so we can lobby and advocate in the United States to ease up on these areas.
How important is AGWA for investors like you or business organizations like yours?
AGOA and other trade bills like GoBiz out of California, and all of these are essential. They're extremely important. They offer so many preferential treatments. We have 8,700 products that have no duty and no tax, and it eases up on the shipping of these products, and the products have preferential treatment going through customs. So it's extremely essential and detrimental on both sides, when we have a challenge to use it. So this is a main focus of our advocacy group. We're really going to be pushing hard with some congressmen and senators and people in the U.S. to make sure, no matter what happens, that these initiatives stay open while we discuss through any other issues that we may have. So it's very important and essential.
You have been visiting places, you have been in trade fairs, and you have experienced things in person. So here is also AGWA. And what is your message to officials in the State Department regarding AGWA?
My message to officials is let's work together. Right now we have a large group of Americans that are eager and love Ethiopia. It's only a small group that's holding up the African Growth and Opportunity Act. So let's work together and join hands, and we can maneuver the African Growth and Opportunity Act to work for us. One of the things I think that's important also is to make it accessible to small and medium enterprise companies besides just large companies. Here in Ethiopia, we need to have some type of, maybe the investment council or some type of council that specifically focuses on not just ALGOA, but other trade initiatives, but specifically focuses on ALGOA. What are the 8,700 products specifically that are included in ALGOA, and what are the advantages and the preferential treatments? Which ones have no duties? Which ones have no tax? Which ones are available readily in Ethiopia? And which ones do we have to develop, maybe some manufacturing and processing, etc., to be able to utilize through ALGOA? So this is my message to the local governments in Ethiopia. And then we need to join hands with different organizations in the US, chambers of commerce, some diaspora organizations to work together so we can utilize and take advantage of these trade initiatives.
In the past years, we have seen trends of protectionism and conflict in various parts of the world. On the other direction, we see Ethiopia opening up its economy to the global competition. So what kind of help and support Ethiopia needs?
Just two things. The first thing you mentioned is how Ethiopia is opening up and how other countries are using protectionism.
Yeah, really.
One thing is, I think there has to always be a balance. There has to be a happy medium. I like the saying that I learned here, Kaspakas Inkalar Bagara Yihedar. So we need to take a step-by-step approach. Don't move too fast and opening up. We don't want to open up fast and then have a fast downturn. So we need to take incremental steps, see how each one is affecting the economy, and then increase it as we go. I think it's healthy to have a certain amount of protectionism, but I think the extremes on both sides can be unhealthy, and especially if you move into it too fast. So that's what I would say on that standpoint. As far as helping Ethiopia going through this stage of opening up its markets, I think the international community and Ethiopia, we can all look at the history of other countries and take lessons from what's happened in other countries. Learn from the mistakes, from the ones that have had a downturn, and learn from the positive attributes from countries that have been successful. So I think if we take this type of an approach, it can be a fantastic situation for Ethiopia going forward.
Anything else to add here?
Well, I just want to say to everybody, I have been in and out of Ethiopia for 23 years. I've been working with the USA Africa Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the American International Trade Commission, and of course my company, the Global Trading Network. And I just want people to know Ethiopia is such a beautiful, peaceful place, full of history. Some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life. All the food is organic. And if you want to see the beginnings of civilization and the modern civilization all in one place, I invite you to come and visit. And please come to any of our expos. We have 2 expos per year in the US, 1 expo each year here in May in Ethiopia. We invite you to come to our expos, get involved, and let's trade into the future.
Global Trading Network CEO Mansa Musa, it is a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for taking your time to talk to us.
The pleasure is mine. I want to thank you so much for having me here, and I can't wait to come back and see you again.
This brings us to the end of today's program. I'm Johannes Lejalem. Until we meet next time with another topic and another guest, take care of yourself and each other.